The prairie town of Harmony Creek wore its silence like a habit. Dust trailed along the street boards, and the sun climbed slow over rooftops warped by heat. A church bell rang thin as tin, calling not just the faithful but the curious. For Sunday mornings were less about worship than about who had worn what dress, who had missed service, and who was now the subject of whispers. Jedediah Boone walked through that silence the way a stone cuts the river, slow, steady, without altering his rhythm. His coat was long, blackened by dust, his hat shading a face carved more by solitude than years. People said he had been talkative once, before the war and its ghosts. But now silence was his armor. Children hushed when he passed, and grown men shifted in discomfort, for there was something about his quiet that felt deliberate, like the pause before a storm. Clara Mayfield stood on the steps of Reverend Harper's whitewashed church, her back straight, her chin high. She was Harmony Creek's school teacher, and she carried herself with the stubborn grace of a woman who knew her worth but lived among men who preferred her to forget it. This morning she stared not at the gathering congregation, but at the bundles set at the Reverend's feet. A quilt, tattered at the edges, quivered with life. When the first thin cry rose, a collective shiver passed through the crowd. Reverend Harper bent, his voice gentle but unsure. "It's a child." Murmurs bloomed like wildfire. "Whose?" "Sin begotten, sure as sunrise. Left here to shame us all." Clara's heart clenched at the cruelty. "It's a baby, not a curse," she said, but her words landed like pebbles against stone. The Reverend rocked the little girl, yet his hands betrayed him, meant more for holding scripture than soothing flesh. "This child needs a home," he announced. No one moved. Mothers clutched their own closer, men studded their boots. Taking in another's child was no charity, it was a burden. Clara wanted to step forward, but she knew the price. Alone and already eyed with suspicion for her independence, raising a stranger's baby would sink her reputation for good. She hated herself for hesitating, but she hesitated all the same. Then the silence broke. "I'll take her." The voice was low, rough as gravel, and softer than prayer. Jedediah Boone stepped forward. The crowd gasped as though the earth itself had spoken. He reached for the child, his scarred hands impossibly tender as they lifted the bundle. The baby stilled, her cries fading to a whimper, then silence. The Reverend blinked. "Jed, are you sure?" Jed only nodded, his eyes never leaving the infant's face. Clara watched, breath caught. She had seen him once cradle a wounded hawk until it could fly again. He held the baby now with the same unspoken reverence, as though he, too, had been waiting for her. That was a morning Jed Boone carried a crying child away from Harmony Creek, and the town began watching for his inevitable ruin. Jed's ranch was a lonely sprawl of land pressed against endless sky. Life there had been simple: horses, cattle, the rhythm of labor. Now Mercy, named so by the Reverend with little ceremony, altered every rhythm. Jed fumbled with bottles at dawn, spilled milk more often than he saved it, and wrapped quilt so poorly the child vanished in folds. Yet Mercy quieted in his arms as though sensing his patience. When her cries came sharp, he hummed, not songs, just deep, wordless tones. The neighbors whispered, "His bewitched her. Ain't natural." Clara did not believe such foolishness. She began visiting his ranch, offering instruction under the guise of duty. "Jed Boone," she teased once, "you swaddle like you're tying a horse blanket." Her nimble fingers corrected the cloth. His lips twitched, almost a smile, but he said nothing. She showed him lullabies, the rhythm of rocking, the way to coax milk without haste. At first she stayed briefly. Then she lingered longer, finding herself drawn not just to the child but to the strange, steady calm of Jed's presence. His silence, she realized, wasn't empty. It was filled with watchfulness, restraint, meaning. The town disapproved. Women wagged their tongues. Clara compromised, a school teacher entangled in scandal. Men muttered, Jed near mute, unfit to father. Reverend Harper counseled patience, though even he admitted, the prairie's cruelest wind is gossip. One night Clara found Jed on his porch, Mercy in his arms beneath the stars. His lips moved faintly. She leaned closer, catching fragments, not lullabies, but promises. Prayers breathed so low they seemed meant only for the child and God. The sound struck her like a hymn. He wasn't silent because he had nothing to say. He was silent because his words were too fragile for careless ears. Time passed. Clara's visits grew expected. Jed set out an extra chair on the porch without speaking. Clara left pies cooling on his windowsill without admitting they were meant for him. A bond took shape, not spoken, but stitched quietly through presence and small mercies. Then trouble arrived. A drifter woman staggered into town, claiming Mercy as hers. She said desperation had forced her to leave the baby. The townsfolk, hungry for scandal, rallied at once. Jed's stolen her. Law won't allow it. Clara's faith wavered. If the woman spoke truth, Jed could lose Mercy. His calm unnerved her. "What will you do?" she asked. Jed whispered, "Ain't truth in every mouth?" But fate pressed harder. One stormy night Mercy burned with fever. Clara raced through the rain to Jed's cabin, finding him pacing with the child pressed to his chest. His voice broke the silence at last, pleading, "Help me, Clara. Don't let her go." Together they fought through the hours, cloths cool against fire-hot skin, prayers whispered like rope thrown into darkness. By dawn, Mercy's fever broke, and the child slept, fragile but alive. Jed sat hollow-eyed, drained, his silence heavy not with strength but fear. Clara saw then his lowest point, the terror that his love would never be enough. On Sunday, the drifter demanded Mercy before the whole congregation. The church was thick with watchers eager for spectacle. Reverend Harper faltered, torn between the law and the truth written in his heart. Jed stepped forward, Mercy in his arms. His voice rang, low but clear, echoing through the wooden beams. "Ain't a child to be bartered." She was left crying, and I was left standing. Maybe we both been unwanted, but I'll not leave her again. The words stilled the room. Clara walked to his side, not touching, but standing with him, quiet defiance against the tide. The drifter's eyes dropped. Whatever claim she had, it withered in the face of his vow. She left Harmony Creek without another word. The Reverend lifted his hand, blessing the child for all to hear. Mercy Boone. From that day, whispers remained, but something in them shifted. The town could no longer deny what it had seen. The quietest man had spoken the loudest vow. Time turned. Jed's silence remained, but it was no longer armor. It was choice. Clara's laughter filled his home. Mercy's small hand clung to his scarred fingers, and life on the ranch was not lonely anymore. In dusk light, with wheat bending golden in the wind, Jed sat rocking Mercy as Clara read by lamplight, his whisper drifting toward the child like a promise meant for the ages. And the whisper was enough. Reader, remember this. Thunder fades across the plains, but whispers can outlast storms. When the world leaves you at the steps of despair, listen. Mercy may come softly, in silence.